Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me tonight, because what I'm about to share with you may very well change the way you see yourself as a man, the way you walk, the way you talk, and the way you carry your soul in this world. There is something undeniable that makes a man irresistible in the eyes of a woman. And it is not money, it is not looks, it is not some clever pickup line. No, my friends, it is something far greater. It is the power of detachment. Now listen to me. A woman by her very nature is drawn to strength. She is drawn to a man who stands unshaken in the storm. A man who does not beg, a man who does not plead, a man who walks his path, whether anyone follows him or not. And I tell you tonight, when a man clings too tightly, when he smothers, when he seeks validation from her every word, she does not feel admiration, she feels pressure. She does not feel desire, she feels burden. But when a man stands firm in who he is, when he knows that his mission in life is greater than seeking approval, she cannot help but take notice. There is a truth that cannot be ignored, my friends. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop needing, is the moment you become the very thing she desires. So stay with me, because before this night is over, I am going to show you the exact reasons why a man who masters the art of detachment holds the key to a woman's deepest attraction. And when you understand this, it will transform not just your relationships, but your very life itself. Are you ready to hear the truth? Then let's begin. A woman is naturally drawn to a man who is not desperate for her attention, but instead stands firm in his purpose. This is a truth that has stood the test of time, written in the very fabric of human nature. When a man understands this, he steps into a realm of power that few ever grasp. He no longer seeks validation. He no longer pleads for affection. He no longer feels the need to chase after something that was never meant to be pursued in the first place. Instead, he becomes a man of presence, a man of depth, a man who commands attention simply by the way he moves through life. A woman can sense a man's energy long before he ever speaks a word. She can tell if he is grounded in himself, or if he is seeking something outside of himself to complete him. And when she detects that a man is in desperate need of her approval, something within her recoils. It is not a conscious reaction, but an instinctive one. Her admiration is reserved for the man who does not seek to control her, nor to be controlled by her. It is reserved for the man who walks with certainty, who knows where he is going, and who will continue forward whether or not she chooses to walk beside him. A man who understands the power of detachment does not play games, nor does he engage in manipulation. He does not withdraw his attention out of strategy, nor does he attempt to make her feel insecure so that she chases him. No, his detachment is not about tactics. It is about truth. It is about living in a way that reflects an unshakable confidence. His time is valuable. His energy is not freely given to just anyone. He knows that his life's mission is greater than the pursuit of fleeting romantic validation. And it is precisely this quality that makes him so compelling. When a man is attached to the outcome of a relationship, when he hinges his emotional state on whether a woman accepts or rejects him, he gives away his power. He becomes reactive rather than proactive. He moves from a place of need rather than abundance. And in doing so, he diminishes the very essence of what makes him attractive in the first place. But when he releases the need to grasp, to hold on, to secure something that was never his to own, he steps into true masculinity. He moves with ease, with a quiet assurance that speaks louder than words. It is not arrogance. It is not indifference. It is the simple understanding that a man's worth is not determined by whether or not a woman desires him. He is whole within himself, and it is in this wholeness that he becomes magnetic. His detachment is not about pushing away. It is about standing so firmly in who he is that she cannot help but be drawn in. Confidence is a force that cannot be faked, and nothing draws a woman in more than a man who carries himself with an unshakable sense of certainty. It is not about arrogance, nor is it about mere bravado. It is about a quiet, steady assurance that radiates from within. A man who is confident in himself does not beg for attention, nor does he fear being alone. He does not derive his worth from the approval of others, and because of this, stands apart from the masses who constantly seek validation. Women are naturally drawn to this kind of man because he represents something rare, something strong, something secure, something that cannot be easily swayed. Cleanliness, on the other hand, is a silent repellent. When a man is too eager, too desperate to secure a woman's attention, it sends a signal that he lacks inner security. A woman may not always be able to articulate why this is unattractive, but she will feel it on a deep instinctual level. A man who constantly seeks reassurance, who needs to be validated, who cannot find peace unless he knows exactly where he stands with her, this is a man who unknowingly pushes her away. His neediness suffocates the very attraction he hopes to cultivate. A confident man does not seek permission to be himself. He does not mold his personality to fit what he thinks a woman wants. He does not hesitate in his actions, nor does he second-guess himself in an attempt to avoid disapproval. He moves forward with certainty, knowing that his value is not determined by whether or not a woman chooses him. And this, paradoxically, makes him irresistible. Women are drawn to men who do not place them on a pedestal, men who see them as equals but never as the center of their universe. A man who is confident without being clingy understands that attraction is not built through constant attention or endless reassurance. It is built through presence, through purpose, through the silent strength of a man who knows who he is. He does not need to chase because he understands that true attraction is not about pursuit. It is about presence. When he walks into a room, he does not demand attention, yet he receives it. When he speaks, he does not seek approval, yet people listen. Women do not want a man who needs them to feel complete. They do not desire a man who waits anxiously for their validation. They are drawn to the man who is whole within himself, the man who could walk away if he needed to, the man who does not fear loss because he understands that his worth is not tied to any one person. Confidence is magnetic, clinginess is repellent, and the man who understands this walks through life with an energy that is undeniably attractive. Emotional control is one of the most powerful traits a man can possess. It is the mark of a man who is not ruled by fleeting emotions, who does not allow external circumstances to shake his foundation. A man who has mastered his emotions is not easily angered, not easily swayed by rejection, and not easily thrown off course by the ups and downs of life. And this kind of man is irresistible to women. Not because he is emotionless, not because he is distant, but because he is in control. Women do not desire a man who is emotionally unstable, one who reacts impulsively to every situation. They desire a man who stands firm, who remains steady, even in the face of adversity. A man who lacks emotional control is at the mercy of his feelings. He becomes reactive instead of proactive. He lashes out when things don't go his way. He clings desperately when he feels a woman slipping away. He allows his moods to dictate his actions, and in doing so, he reveals weakness. And weakness, whether physical or emotional, does not inspire attraction. A woman may feel sympathy for a man who is emotionally unstable. She may even care for him, but she will not feel deep, lasting desire for him. Desire is ignited by strength, by certainty, by the unwavering presence of a man who does not let emotions dictate his behavior. When a man is emotionally controlled, he is not cold, he is composed, he does not shut down, he remains centered, he does not suppress emotion, he channels it with purpose. If he feels anger, he does not explode. If he feels excitement, he does not lose himself in the moment. He allows emotions to pass through him without being consumed by them. And this kind of self-mastery is rare. Most men are slaves to their feelings, acting on impulse, reacting without thought, seeking external validation to soothe their internal turmoil. But the man who masters his emotions masters himself. And in doing so, he becomes the kind of man that women cannot resist. A woman wants to feel safe in a man's presence. She wants to know that no matter what happens, he will not crumble. She wants to feel that if life throws challenges his way, he will remain unshaken. This does not mean a man must be emotionless. It means he must be unbreakable. His calmness in chaos is what draws her in. His ability to remain centered in the face of adversity makes her trust him, admire him, desire him. She knows that no matter what storms may come, he will not lose himself. He will not beg, he will not plead, he will not fall apart. And that certainty, that silent confidence is what makes him undeniably attractive. A man who places his purpose above the pursuit of women holds an undeniable power. He is not easily swayed, not easily distracted, and not easily consumed by fleeting desires. His energy is directed towards something greater than momentary validation. He walks with intent, driven by a vision that goes beyond romantic conquest. And because of this, women cannot help but be drawn to him. They see in him something rare, something that most men do not possess, a sense of direction, a mission, a life that does not revolve around seeking their approval. When a man makes a woman his purpose, he loses himself. He becomes needy, desperate, willing to compromise his values just to keep her attention. He sacrifices his dreams, his ambitions, and his identity, all in the name of love. But love is not meant to be chased. It is meant to be a byproduct of a life well lived. A woman respects a man who has his own path, his own goals, his own unwavering sense of direction. She may enjoy the attention of a man who places her at the center of his world, but she will not truly desire him. Attraction is not built on excessive devotion. It is built on the silent confidence of a man who knows where he is going. A man who is deeply invested in his purpose does not waste time seeking validation from others. He does not wait for permission to pursue his dreams. He does not hesitate when opportunities arise. He moves forward with conviction, knowing that his life is meant for more than just chasing affection. And this energy is intoxicating. Women admire a man who is consumed by something greater than them. They want to be part of his world, to be swept up in the momentum of his journey, but they do not want to be the sole reason for his existence. It is not about ignoring women, nor is it about rejecting love. It is about understanding that true attraction is built when a man remains focused on his mission. A man who is constantly available, constantly seeking attention, constantly prioritizing romance over everything else. He loses the very essence that makes him attractive. But when a man is so deeply committed to his growth, his passion, and his purpose, he becomes magnetic. He does not chase, he does not plead, he does not waver. He moves forward, and in doing so, he naturally draws others toward him. Women do not desire a man who needs them to feel complete. They desire a man who is already complete, a man who is whole within himself, a man who stands firm in his identity regardless of who chooses to walk beside him. A man's purpose is not something to be sacrificed for love. It is the very thing that makes him worthy of it. And when a man truly understands this, he steps into a level of attraction that cannot be forced, cannot be faked, and cannot be ignored. Scarcity creates value, and a man who understands this principle naturally becomes more attractive to women. When something is readily available, it is taken for granted. When something is rare, it is cherished. This is a fundamental truth that applies to all aspects of life, including relationships. A man who is always available, who constantly seeks validation, who eagerly gives his time and attention without hesitation, he loses his value in a woman's eyes. Not because she is ungrateful, not because she is cruel, but because human nature does not appreciate what is abundant as much as what is scarce. A man who detaches from the need to always be present, to always please, to always seek approval, instantly becomes more desirable. He does not play games, nor does he use artificial tactics to create distance. He simply understands that his time, his energy, and his presence are valuable. He does not give them away freely to just anyone. He is selective with where he places his attention, and this in turn makes him stand out. Women notice when a man is not desperate for their validation. They notice when he is not constantly seeking reassurance, and they respect him for it. Many men make the mistake of thinking that the more they give, the more they will be loved. They believe that endless affection, constant attention, and complete availability will make a woman see their worth. But the opposite happens. When a man is too available, his presence becomes expected rather than appreciated. His attention loses its impact. His presence no longer feels special. And without realizing it, he diminishes the very thing that made him attractive in the first place. A man who values himself operates differently. He does not neglect the people he cares about, nor does he ignore a woman to manipulate her into wanting him more. Instead, he prioritizes his own life. He moves with purpose. He invests his time wisely. He does not drop everything at a moment's notice just because someone demands his attention. And this creates an aura of respect, an energy of certainty that is impossible to ignore. A woman does not want a man who is available to her every second of the day. She wants a man who has a life outside of her, a man who is so secure in himself that he does not need constant validation. She wants to feel that when he gives her his time, it is intentional, not given out of desperation or fear of losing her. Scarcity creates value. A man who understands this does not chase, does not beg, does not plead. He simply lives, and in doing so, he becomes the very thing that a woman desires most. Mystery is one of the most powerful forces of attraction, and a man who embraces it becomes irresistible. Women are drawn to what they cannot fully figure out, to a man who holds depth beneath the surface, to someone who reveals himself in layers rather than all at once. When a man is too open, too predictable, too eager to explain every thought and emotion, he loses the intrigue that makes attraction thrive. He becomes ordinary. But when he maintains an air of mystery, not through deception, not through playing games, but through genuine depth, he creates an undeniable pull. A woman wants to feel like there is always more to discover in a man. She wants to sense that beneath his words, beneath his presence, beneath his confidence, there is something deeper that she has yet to uncover. If a man gives everything away immediately, his past, his emotions, his vulnerabilities, he removes the element of curiosity. There is no journey, no unfolding, no anticipation. And without those things, attraction loses its fire. But a man who carries himself with quiet confidence, who does not feel the need to over-explain, who lets his actions speak more than his words, he captivates. Men often make the mistake of thinking that if they are completely open from the start, they will build trust and connection more quickly. But trust is not built through oversharing. It is built through consistency, strength, and a sense of mystery that keeps a woman engaged. A man who tells his whole life story on the first date, who constantly talks about his feelings, who seeks emotional reassurance too soon, unknowingly diminishes the very intrigue that creates attraction. A woman wants to feel like she is slowly unraveling a man's world, like she is discovering something rare and valuable, not being handed a book where every page has already been read. This does not mean a man should be distant or secretive. Mystery is not about hiding, it is about revealing selectively. It is about allowing a woman to experience a man's depth over time, not all at once. When he shares pieces of himself in a way that feels natural, when he allows curiosity to build, when he leaves room for anticipation, he becomes someone she cannot stop thinking about. She wonders what else there is to know. She becomes invested in uncovering the deeper layers of who he is. A man who is too available, too open, too predictable, loses his power. But a man who moves with purpose, who reveals himself in layers, who allows curiosity to grow, becomes unforgettable. A woman cannot resist a man who is both present and elusive, both strong and mysterious, both confident and intriguing. And when a man understands this, he never has to chase, never has to convince, never has to beg. He simply exists as he is, and in doing so, he becomes the very thing that draws women in without effort. A man who detaches is a man who understands his worth. He does not seek validation, he does not cling to outcomes, and he does not place his happiness in the hands of another. He moves with purpose, carries himself with quiet confidence, and remains in control of his emotions. He is not swayed by desperation, nor does he lose himself in the pursuit of fleeting affection. Instead, he stands firm, knowing that his presence is valuable. His time is sacred, and his energy is not freely given away. Women are not drawn to men who beg for attention. They are drawn to men who command respect, men who live with purpose, men who do not fear loss, because they know their worth is not defined by external validation. The man who detaches does not play games. He simply walks his own path, and in doing so, he naturally attracts those who recognize his value. So the question is not whether you should detach, but rather, can you afford not to? Can you afford to live a life constantly chasing, constantly seeking approval, constantly fearing rejection? Or will you step into the power of a man who knows that true attraction is never forced, never pleaded for, but effortlessly earned by the way he carries himself? The choice is yours. Be the man who needs, or be the man who is needed. The world does not wait for those who hesitate. Women do not admire men who beg. They are drawn to the ones who stand tall, who walk forward with purpose, who know that they are enough. Whether or not anyone chooses to walk beside them,